Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Got a great person to end our 3-hour show this morning. And she's somebody, we've had her on our show before, but it's been a little while. So Gilda Osborn, who's the administrator at Regents Park of Boca Raton. Hello, Gilda.
Good morning, Anita. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is a pleasure for me also. And I was very, very interested in the article that you wrote about understanding Medicare pay for a nursing home stay. I would tell you, Gilda, of all the things that are confusing the most in growing older is what does Medicare pay, and especially when it comes to nursing homes and assisted living. Can you help us with that?
I sure can. First of all, people have to be hospitalized for at least a 3-day inpatient stay. And that's become a little challenging these days because there are numerous circumstances where people are in the hospital for at least 3 days, but they have not been admitted as an inpatient. They've been kept as, kind of outpatient status. So it has to be an inpatient stay. And then obviously the physician has to order that they come into a skilled nursing facility for skilled services. And those things might be, continuation of some problem that they were being treated for in the hospital or developed in the hospital related to why they were there. For example, somebody goes in because they've broken their hip, so they need skilled rehab services, or someone is in the hospital because they have an infection and they need continued antibiotics, so they would get those in the skilled nursing facility such as Regents Park, or they've had a medical condition that has created a decline and they need some strengthening and reconditioning, and they would get those services in the skilled nursing facility.
All right, well, I guess my question, though, is how do you ask to stay in the hospital long enough so that you can be able to come to some place like Regents Park?
Well, I don't know if it's a matter of asking to stay, but you have to make sure that you ask that you've had an inpatient stay. And I think these non-inpatient stays developed or became more prevalent a few years ago when, of course, Medicare is always looking to see that, the system isn't abused. So they've got strict criteria for why a physician can admit someone to inpatient status and when they don't need it. So they do have to be careful of that. Sometimes people say, but I was in the hospital for 3 days, but unfortunately their status wasn't inpatient. So I guess it's a discussion with, with the physician or their case manager in the hospital, just making sure that they've had that 3-day inpatient qualifying stay that must occur before they qualify for Medicare skilled nursing benefits in a facility.
All right, now who does all the paperwork on this? And when they come there, does Regents Park do it, or would the person have to be required to fill out all those forms?
Well, typically how the process works is we may get a phone call or an online communication with the hospital on the referral. And that typically is initiated because there's been discussion in the hospital with the patient that they will probably benefit for some ongoing services in a skilled nursing facility. So we get the communication, and then we have nurse liaisons that are out in the field that go to the hospital. They review the records, and then they have a communication with the patient and or the family member telling them that, we at Regents Park have been referred, have been provided the referral, and, they may have been provided the names of several nursing homes or nursing facilities. So, it becomes our job to educate them on, services that we have available and what we feel that we can provide to them to get them back on course, returning home or to whatever living environment that they were in. So it's mostly hospital to nursing facility. Now, obviously, when somebody comes in, just like when they go into the hospital, there's that paperwork that needs to be completed, but that's relative to admission. Before they come in, our business office and admissions staff work to identify what Medicare benefits they have available. For example, the first 20 days Medicare pays at 100%, and then after the 20th day, there's a coinsurance of $157.50 per day, and that rate is set by the government, and it typically changes every year, that they would be responsible for. So we have a printout that says, yes, the patient does have the 20 days and the 80 coinsurance days, or we get something that says they've already used their 20 days because they were in a facility a couple of weeks ago, so they're working on their coinsurance days, so that we can educate people and let them know that you're in your coinsurance days, so you are going to be responsible for the $157.50 a day. Now, most people have a coinsurance policy that does pay that $157.50 a day, but again, that's an insurance policy that someone has to pay for. So it's not part of your Medicare A plan that you have as an entitlement. That's something that you have to pay for. And people need to be educated on those other benefits that they have, because again, oftentimes somebody comes and they'll tell us, yes, I have a coinsurance plan, but it may be an Empire New York plan that does not cover skilled nursing facilities. So the consumer really needs to be somewhat informed as to what their benefits are.
Gilda, I was just listening to you and shaking my head and saying to myself, I hate insurance policies, any kind, whether it was Medicare, anything. They're so confusing. Do you all have to have special training to understand these policies?
Well, I don't know if it's special formalized training, but, it's really experiential. As you've been in the field longer and you become exposed to different, to different plans and policies that people have, many of the times, our people can, look at, what the plan is and say, oh no, we know we're going to be challenged. We're going to be challenged with this. But if somebody doesn't have a coinsurance plan, 90% of the time, I would say 100% of the time, you can work out a payment schedule with the facility to take care of paying that coinsurance. And I know people say, oh my gosh, that's overwhelming. It's $157.50 a day, but you can work something out. Now, oftentimes people are motivated to leave on that day 20 because they know that beyond that they don't have a coinsurance plan, and that's not always in their best interest because they may not be safe to return to their home setting at that point. So better to work out something where you're going to get the best care and be discharged when you're safe to return home than leave prematurely, and you're going to go home and fall again and be back in the same predicament.
Yeah, and you've been so experienced at this. I know you've, Gilda, I don't want to age you, but
I know.
But let's say over the last 20 years, let's do that. Over the last 20 years, have things really changed in what you've been doing with Medicare? Has been around since what, in the 1950s or 40s or 30s? I forget when. No, Johnson came in, and that was very important. So, but that's a long time ago. So do they keep making changes?
Well, there have been a couple of things that have, that happened, but were temporary, and now we're back to the same, to the same rules. For example, at one point in time, that 3-day hospital qualifying stay, went away, and there's talk of that again because obviously there aren't always situations that somebody has to go into the hospital just to meet that 3-day qualifying stay and get care that they could get in the skilled nursing facility. So obviously the government is always looking at expense. The qualifiers for Medicare, such as needing skilled rehab or skilled nursing care, those essentially have stayed the same for the many years that I've been doing this. You still need the daily skilled rehab, and when they say daily skilled rehab, if the facility you're in only offers skilled rehab 5 or 6 days a week, that meets the daily skilled rehab definition. Or if somebody requires skilled nursing care, that's always pretty much stayed the same. And, they list examples of that for us of what constitutes that. What has changed in the Medicare system is how facilities are paid. It used to be a different type of a system where now there's a standardized assessment that's completed on every patient, because they are short-term patients throughout the country. It's the same document, and based upon the responses on that document, which it gives examples of the services or care that they require, then Medicare pays us based upon that.
I see. So, yeah, all in all, when you think about it, it's really good for seniors that maybe they're not going to get everything. But, boy, when you start looking at people who aren't a senior and all the kinds of money they have to pay for things, we are so lucky as a senior citizen, someone that's over 65, to be able to get what is available, and especially to stay at a gorgeous place like Regents Park. And that brings up another point, and I think you said this in your article, and I want to reiterate, it's really important. It says about that you can, let me just try to say, I'm trying to find the one where you said that they are going to pay the same amount no matter where you stay. Now, that's really important because there's some places that aren't half the quality of what you have there. And yet they could go to you as well as some other place.
That's absolutely true. As I said earlier, the coinsurance is the coinsurance regardless of where you go. And what we've done at Regents Park is we've tried to identify services to meet the overall needs of clients that we have seen over the years. For example, people enjoy eating in a socialization atmosphere. So what we did at Regents Park is we have, we call it the Breakfast Club, where we've set up a dining room where we have, we take an order of someone's breakfast at their table, and then the food is prepared right there for them. So if you want, scrambled eggs or eggs over easy or an omelet, that's prepared for you right there. It's open daily so that they do develop, even though they're there for such a short period of time, they do develop, friendships and sit with these friends that they've made at the table, and that's how they start their day. We've developed a transition suite where it's a bathroom setting very typical to what you would have in your home, with the shower and the toilet room, even a laundry area and folding station. Not what you typically find in a facility, but what you would be exposed to in your own home, where the therapist is working with you to try to retrain you to be safe in that type of an environment. Such as we have a bedroom suite where someone can relearn how to get in and out of the bed, a kitchen area. Now, granted, elderly people don't tend to do heavy cooking at home, but you're still making yourself a cup of coffee and you're heating something in a microwave, so that's available so that training can be done, specific to something that would be in your home. Getting in and out of a car. We have car training for those people that have to relearn how to get in and out of a car, either because, let's say, they've had a stroke or they've had some surgery on a limb that you have to get in and out of a car differently. And then, we interview every single individual to identify what their prior level of function was. I may have a car that's waiting for me in my driveway for, my family member to take me out and about, or I may be somebody that lives in, let's say, for example, Century Village, where you have to get a little distance to either get on the tram or you have to walk out. Their parking space may be, further than their front door, so we have to know that they need to walk however many feet it is to be able to get to their car. So it's very specified goals for every single individual.
Pretty complicated. It's very, very good that they have someone like you. How long have you been in the medical business, Gilda? I know you are an administrator. You're a nurse first.
Yes. I actually started doing long-term care when I was a kid, and then I decided that it was an interesting field for me to go into and became a nurse. And then when I moved to Florida, I was young and had a very young family, and I worked in the hospital because that's everyone's dream when you're in nursing, to do the fast pace in a hospital. But I learned quickly when I moved to Florida that many of my clients, my patients, were elderly. So I decided to go into long-term care, where I felt I could, I could contribute more in that type of a setting than just in the hospital environment. So I became a director of nursing and worked as a director of nursing for many years, and then became a licensed nursing home administrator. And I do feel that it's an advantage to me as an administrator to also have a strong background clinically. It was a long time.
Well, Regents Park is a very, very fine place. Let me just tell you a little bit about them. It's actually family-owned and independently operated. They have, as Gilda's been telling you, skilled nursing and rehabilitation. And some of their services do include customized rehabilitation care, clinical capabilities, quality nursing, resident and visitor amenities, social activities, quality food service, and free mobile app, which I think is very funny. What is a free mobile app?
Well, we have an app available that people can access with their smartphones, to get information, provide comments if they have a question, and then we respond to their questions.
Oh.
And, we've become a very mobile society as well, and we have, obviously, Internet services available to clients as well. Everybody comes in with a smartphone these days, and a lot of people with their iPads or tablets. So it's become a very mobile society. I often give the example of, because of how high tech we've become, that I said, I'm of the age, unfortunately my mother, is deceased, but I'm of the age where if my mother's in the hospital and I'm being, bombarded with, she has to discharge tomorrow or the next day, and you need to make plans. What's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to take out my smartphone and I'm going to start looking. They're going to give me a list, but that's it. So I'm going to start looking at facilities, and we've developed our website to try to provide as much information to the consumer to make an informed decision of where they even want to tour. Because people still, obviously we still recommend that people tour a facility before they make a decision, but at least they'll have enough information that they can hopefully make that decision to come in and tour Regents Park.
All right, so I want to, since we just had Dr. Mencia on our radio show, I was thinking about this. So let's say that I have a particular doctor. For example, Dr. Mencia is my doctor, and now I come to Whitehall. Can I keep Dr. Mencia?
You can if Dr. Mencia is interested in seeing patients at Regents Park. For example, there are some physicians that have tremendously busy practices that they feel that they can't do justice to continuing to follow their patients at Regents Park, so they have other physicians that will be taking care of their patients. But if a physician is interested, they just need to be credentialed with us, and it's a very, very quick process. And some doctors say to me, how long does it take? And I say, it depends on how long you take to provide us the limited information that we need, and for us to get you onto our electronic medical record system. For physicians that don't come into the facility for whatever reason, they've typically developed alliances with other physicians that do come into the facility and will have them look after their patient. Now, the thing about that is let's say you become ill and you have to go back to the hospital, you go back to seeing whoever your physician was in the community. It's not a relationship that, okay, I'm now going to have a new doctor and I'm stuck with that new doctor. That's not the case at all.
I see. So, okay. So people do have a lot of freedom of choice. And then I know that you have had, if I went there, I couldn't bring my dog, but you do have dogs there from time to time. How does that work?
We do. We have people that bring in their, the family members bring in their pets, and a variety of cats, dogs, whatever the case may be. And all we ask is that they pick up after their animal. That's it. Obviously they have to be vaccinated, and we tell them that. We've had them come in, 24/7. I mean, people tend to miss their animals. I have animals, and I would miss mine if I were out of commission somewhere else for a while.
Yeah, I think that's almost better than some medicine, having your little dog or your cat there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but so things have changed so much from years ago when we used to think about, people would always say, I'm not going to a nursing home, kill me first. You've heard this. And it's so different. Now you go and it's like a hotel.
It is. It is. And I mean, I always say, the difference between us and the hotel industry is our clients, have medical issues that they're dealing with. It's the hospitality industry, and customer service is paramount to success.
Yes, it is. And I can't tell you how wonderful everyone is at Regents Park. And I just wanted to reconfirm this, that my guest has been Gilda Osborn, and Gilda is the administrator, and that's a big job at a place like Regents Park, I will tell you that. And Gilda has a lot of experience at this. She is very nice. She's very smart. And they have a great team. That's what I love about Regents Park, that everyone gets along. It's such a pleasure to go there. They're located in Boca Raton. I'll tell you exactly the way that you would get there, because they're in the western part of Boca, right off, I guess it's really off, I would say. The way I get to you is I would take Palmetto, and let me see. I'm trying.
St. Andrews or Power Line?
Yeah, right. Power Line or St. Andrews. And it's the reason I'm confused always is because it's like going into a residential area. This is not located on a main thoroughfare. And that's what makes it so nice, because people, they come to visit you, and it's just like going to your home.
Right, exactly. It's right in a residential neighborhood. We're next to the Verde Elementary School, La Biance, Pedrera. There's a lot of communities that we're surrounded by, and a huge lake that's part of our property. We have a lot of vegetation on the property. We have the courtyard patio areas that have gazebos and nice seating areas.
It's lovely.
And every room looks out onto something,
right.
Something nice.
It's amazing. All right, so get your pencils out now. It's time to give you some information. If you don't need them now, you may need them sometime. So let's just give you the phone number. You don't want to go to Yellow Pages, which don't even hardly exist anymore. Don't just go to the generic when you're looking for a nursing area or something to help you rehabilitate. I want you to have the phone number. You ready? Okay, here it is. 561-483-9282. And I'll repeat that. 561-483-9282. And then let me give you their website. Most of you know about websites. If you don't, get your kids to get on there for you. It's called regentsparkboca.com. regentsparkboca.com. And as Jill just said, they're located on Verde Trail. It's 6363 Verde Trail in Boca Raton, and it's 33433. Some of you who may want to get there will be able to put this in their GPS. But let me give you that phone number again. And the reason I'm going to do that is because it wouldn't hurt for you just to have a tour. You don't know what might happen. You might have an elder parent, someone who you just want to go and see it first. You wouldn't believe it when you go there. But it's 561-483-9282. So this has been a wonderful time for us. And I thank you, Gilda, for getting up. I know you work so hard all week long. And you are one pleasant, very wonderful woman to do this morning.
Thank you, Anita. It's been my pleasure.
Yes, thank you, Gilda.